Well, let's bring in our panel. Rabin-Havt is the host of The Agenda and the former advisor to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. He's Skyping in from Washington. And from our Newsmax newsroom, we have Javier Manjarres, the managing editor of the Shark Tank political blog. Ari, when Mr. Obama was running for the presidency, he said, and I quote, "The president does not have power under the Constitution to unilaterally authorize a military attack in a situation that does not involve stopping an actual or imminent threat to the nation. History has shown us time and again, however, that military action is most successful when it is authorized and supported by the legislative branch." Ari, how do you respond to critics who say there's a rhetorical gap between candidate Obama and President Obama on this?
I wish President Obama would listen to candidate Obama on that. I think I've been on the show for several weeks now saying I think Congress should get involved. I think Congress needs to get involved. And frankly, the reason Congress isn't involved is because they didn't want to be. They basically said, we don't want to vote on this. Both Republicans and Democrats said, we don't want to do this authorization thing. We'd rather head off into our elections without it. And the president was wrong for letting them do that. I think authorization for the use of military force is critical. I think it's a constitutional necessity, and I think it's a moral obligation.
Javier, has the Obama administration been creative, trying to be diplomatic about this? Has it been creative when it comes to the current interpretation of the War Powers Act? Because back in 2011, during the military campaign in Libya, the administration told Congress that the act did not apply because the conflict did not involve sustained fighting or ground troops. As a matter of fact, President Obama told Congress our involvement was for purely humanitarian reasons, when in fact we know the mission was to overthrow Gaddafi. So I'm just wondering, again, is this creative, situational definitions supplied by the Obama administration?
Well, JD, considering how the president has stepped all over the Constitution, I don't know how it cannot be creative and how he's trying to sell this addressing ISIS to the U.S., to the American public, and trying to hook the Congress onto this. Look, I kind of agree with Ari that the Congress should be involved, but I think after the president has already has addressed this issue, and that's within his powers to do so. Again, President Obama does not want to be in this situation. He never wanted to. So him sounding like President George W. Bush really irks him, and he knows it. This issue with ISIS was created by President Obama, and he is summarily embarrassed that he has to deal with this. Look, his military hand has been forced. You know, that one that's been covered by that white sequins glove? Well, it's been forced, and he has to deal with it, and he can't do anything about it.
Ari, this is the same president who lauded his role in the campaign trail, saying he had ended the war in Iraq. Now it's an about-face. Will Mr. Obama be a wartime commander-in-chief for the rest of his presidency?
I think he's been a wartime commander-in-chief. That's a simple fact. We've been at war in this country since 2002 at this point. And the idea that he isn't a wartime commander-in-chief is, you know, that's what he is. That's a big part of his legacy. And look, I think how he prosecutes this war and how he's prosecuted the previous wars will involve a lot of how history will look at him. I think what's kind of telling is I feel like Republicans are trying to talk out of both sides of their mouths here. You have them both supporting President Obama for doing this, wanting this action to take place, and criticizing him for doing it at the same time. Look, at least I'm straightforward. I'm saying I think it's the wrong action. I think it's the wrong time. And I think the use of military force in this situation is entirely problematic. And I think it's problematic that Congress didn't vote on this. I think Republicans should find similar consistency.
Javier, so is it rascally Republicans being inconsistent?
Well, Ari brought up a good point. First of all, I thought we weren't at war with anyone. I thought you're saying that President Obama is a wartime president. That's going to be part of his legacy. But I didn't think we were at war with anyone the past several years. But apparently we are at war with terror. So again, like Ari said, it's going to be part of his legacy, and part of that legacy is going to be that he's been a weak, wimpy president, a commander-in-chief when it comes to war on terror or whomever. As far as Republicans, I don't think this is just Republicans. I think Republicans, I mean, if they are talking out of both sides of the mouth, I think they're taking a page out of the Democrat playbook, because we know Democrats would do that. But again, they have their right to applaud the president for finally doing something against taking military action against Islamic terrorism. But again, at the end of the day, they need.
Let's let Ari get the last word. 30 seconds, Ari.
I mean, he's taken military action against Islamic terrorism his entire term. You've had an expansion of drone wars. You've had more terrorists killed under this president, frankly, in a way that progressives find entirely problematic.
And on that note of remarkable historic accuracy and candor from Ari Rabin-Havt, we thank you. Also to Javier Manjarres, a most enlightening discussion, gentlemen. We look forward to having you back as we continue to monitor events both overseas and here at home with those midterms fewer than 40 days away. Gentlemen, again, our thanks. Now, did you know more than 3.5 million cases of skin cancer are diagnosed annually, with over 90% caused by the sun's ultraviolet rays? Here's this morning's Max to Health report.
You're watching Max to Health.
Basking in the sun can be fun and give you a golden tan, but dermatologists recommend that you always wear lotion and take extra precaution in the summer.
It's very important that people get tested for skin cancer. And the way that you get checked with a complete skin exam, and that should be done once a year. The best time is in the summertime with the summer sun. In the summertime, I consider that fertilizer that stimulates the skin cancers and precancers to come to the surface. So the best time to get checked, if you do not have a history of skin cancer, is once a year in the summertime. If you have a history of skin cancer, you should get checked every 6 months. If you have a history of melanoma, you should get checked every 3 months for the first year and every 6 months after that.
Do a self-exam of your skin. Learn the pattern of moles, blemishes, freckles, and other marks on your body so that you can discuss those with your doctor. I'm Hannah Ostapchuk.
Get more health news at newsmaxhealth.com.
I'm Miranda Kahn, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Another American doctor exposed to the Ebola virus while in Africa is now being treated in the U.S. The unidentified man was flown to the National Institute of Health near Washington, D.C. While the doctor hasn't tested positive for the deadly virus, he's being treated at a special isolation unit. And in Ferguson, Missouri, a police officer was shot over the weekend while responding to reports of a possible burglary. Officials don't believe the shooting is linked to the protest. And in Iowa, Republican Joni Ernst is leading the Senate race by 6 points against Democratic candidate Bruce Braley. And Australia's national airline is making aviation history today. Qantas's super jumbo Airbus, seen here, is on an 8,500-mile flight from Sydney to Dallas. And that was your Newsmax Now update.